Welcome to Happy Clubhouse, with a review of the Bandai SD Gundam World Heroes Cao Cao Wing Gundam Isei Style, which as the name suggests is a new form of Wing Gundam seen in the animation when he receives the Iseiken, so he goes from being based off the OVA Wing Gundam Zero custom to the Wing Gundam EW. Just like Sasuke before, he's all by himself in this round of release, so he isn't molded together with any other kits in the factory like the first two waves of kits. Getting right down to business, Cao Cao Wing Gundam Isei Style was released on August 21st, 2021, and it sold for 880 yen. The CG box art continues to be done by SK Yoshinobu, and the box is thick, measuring 15 by 20.5 by 6.5 centimeters. The short side of the box tells us that this is the 8th release in the series, and everything else is repeated from the front of the box. The long side gives us studio shots of Wing and everything we get inside. And then the other side has a link to watch the show and all the legal text, and is Spartan as always. Inside the box, we get Cao Cao spread across 8 runners, which is quite a lot for the series. What's surprising is, among all the runners, only this blue runner is reused from the older Cao Cao Wing Gundam kits, and not even all these parts will be used as we're gonna see later. All the other parts in here are new molds. The clear parts for this kit are in clear blue this time. We get a sheet of foil stickers with this one here for the eyes, and then this one here for the detail on the forehead, and then these two here for the face guard on each side of the helmet. These long ones go on to the parts draping down on each shoulder on both sides. Then these go onto the shoulders themselves on the front and back for both sides. This white one here is for the top of the front of the skirt armor, and then these blue ones also decorate the armor from top to bottom on both sides. For the instructions, we get some more details on this form of Cao Cao Wing Gundam in this Isei style. And on the back, we get those studio shots once again, and this very vague blurb about the showdown between Cao Cao and Nobunaga, probably because when they made this, they hadn't animated episode 21 yet, which is actually where this bit of story comes from. And that vagueness continues to the centerfold comic, which is drawn really nicely, but it really skirts around any detail related to the story, not that the actual fight itself actually had any complicated setup in the end. The black and white side is all for assembly instructions, as you'd expect. A bit under an hour later, we get Cao Cao before any of the stickers are applied, and they do get a bulk of his colors done in plastic, although as all kits are in this line, Cao Cao doesn't look quite right yet without any of his stickers. The cutout on the front of the skirt armor here looks really good with all the red parts peeking out from all the cutout windows. The chest is nice too, with this part being the only part on the body that uses any of the clear parts. The shoulders are all done with gold plastic, and unfortunately they don't have any color details at all from top to bottom. And overall, this is on par with any other SD World Heroes kit so far, which really means that we really do need the stickers on Cao Cao to see what this kit is supposed to look like out of the box. So here's what he's supposed to look like fully complete. Again, like all the other kits in the line, the stickers focus mostly on what's on the front, and only the shoulders show anything that's on the back. Now, one nice thing about Cao Cao is that the stickers aren't too hard to put on, unlike Sasuke, and there really aren't that many stickers overall. One major role of the stickers is to add a lot of the white details back onto the gold areas of the body, and that goes a long way to showing that really complex decoration on Cao Cao's outfit. But the stickers can still only do so much, and a lot of the details still go uncolored, like the white trim on the red parts of the front skirt, and then the forearms here that are supposed to have a lot more colors on the original design. Now, if you don't compare them side by side, this really isn't going to bother you a whole lot, and by himself, Cao Cao looks fine enough. But if you're crazy and you want to paint him, then your Cao Cao is going to look so much more complete than his snap fit form right here. For bad stickers this time, we got the ones on the face guard here, which are pretty terrible, covering up a lot of the molded details underneath and then just slapping a skin of color on top of it all. Now fortunately, this is the only part like this on Cao Cao, so no other details are obscured by stickers this time. The wings on the back are a little bit on the small side, which is a bit of a shame because the previous kit had massive ones in comparison. They can each rotate along their peg, and even though they're all white, the detail on them helps distract from all the missing colors. And you've probably noticed this very strangely shaped middle section here with an angled hinge, and to use it, you need to first pull off the entire wing part right here, and that reveals 2 holes that are notched like this. But before we use it, we need to fold up the wings along that hinge we saw to put the 2 wings onto one side. And then we'll place the entire part back onto the other hole, which turns everything 90 degrees because of the notch. Special note from future me, in the instructions you're told to take out the entire white piece right here and then reattach it to the furthest hole over here, which helps stick out the wings much further past the shoulders. But when I did this, the peg now locked the arm from turning. And not only that, but in this configuration it looks really ugly and awkward from the back and on the top with that white part just hanging out like that. I'm not sure if this is just incredibly sloppy design or some really late stage change when they couldn't add or make any drastic changes to the kit. Now fortunately, if you really don't like this like me, the simple remedy is to just leave the thing in the middle. All the footage and the rest of the review leaves it in the middle like this, not because I'm stubborn, but because I only realized there was this step later. Whoops. Okay, back to the review. That places both wings on the right side of Cao Cao, which is likely a reference to the previous iteration of Cao Cao with the 6 wings. The wings in this configuration go a long way to make Cao Cao way more expressive when you pose him. As mentioned before, only a few parts of Cao Cao are actually reused from the old kit, specifically the blue parts like the chest, the forearms, and the side skirt. Everything else on this is a new mold. When most fans saw the Isei style, they were fully expecting this to be a quick retool. As a strange consequence of using this new mold, we do get these older blue feet that can be used. They're nearly the same, but there are some really small details that are different from each other. So, as an undocumented bonus, you can swap these in, and if you really like the looks of these blue feet, this is something you can do right out of the box. On to the weapons, it's the Iseiken and nothing else. This sword sits inside this really big and really girthy sheath with a lot of geometry to break up its long and boxy shape. This thing is so tall that it dwarfs Cao Cao in height, and it makes every other sword in the series look like daggers like this one from Nobunaga here. So you can pull the sword right out of the sheath as you'd expect, and this is what it looks like. It's all in white like every other sword in the line, but as a central part of the character here, with it being so big as well, it really would have been nice to add some color to this. Even if it's not plastic, some stickers would have been good. And here's something else that's a little bit odd. So the side skirts don't have holes on them, so the sheath doesn't plug directly in, so what do? Well, we need this white adapter here, which needs you to pull off the blue side skirt, and then you put this white adapter in its place. And then you put the blue part right back on top of it, which adds a lot of width and it looks exactly as strange as you think it does, sticking out like this. But now we do have a hole that finally plugs the Iseiken on, which looks kinda nice from the side, but from the front this thing now looks ridiculously wide and sticks out like this and it looks so silly. The arms need to be folded up and out of the way when you put it back on, and this whole thing is just really convoluted and it's so clumsy, and I don't know what the designers were thinking when they made this. Most of the clear parts we get in this kit are for the energy effects when Cao Cao uses the Iseiken. To equip them, we need to pull off the crest on Cao Cao's forehead here, and that slides in this part right here, and all of that can be placed back onto the head like this. The other two parts can be placed onto the wings, with this one here for the lower wing like this, and then this longer one for the upper wing that goes on like this. The different shapes work for the asymmetric design when we have the wings folded, and they add a 5th color in plastic, and he looks quite a bit different than you might expect for adding just 3 clear pieces. Alternatively, you can take those wing effect parts and place them onto the Iseiken itself by using the slots on the blade to attach both pieces on like this to give us the fully powered Iseiken. And I actually prefer this configuration because I've already mentioned how it's a shame that the sword is all in white, so this way you can mask off that problem and it really sells the power of that entire gigantic blade. One nice thing about this design here is that the clear pieces can be installed on the other side if you really want, so if for any reason you need to display the effects part on the other side, it's something you can do, which the other World Heroes kits so far can't do. And of course, we want to see Cao Cao on the Warhorse too, and he fits on without any big issues. The black horse with the red details clashes a little bit with his white and gold coloring, and the horse looks a little bit too bad guy-ish for Cao Cao here, so maybe you're going to want to paint the horse in another color, but the horse itself works fine. From the side, the horse is extended all the way to fit the big front skirt, so it can be a bit long, and that gigantic sword sticks way out on the side of the horse like this, but you don't really have to go out of your way to make everything fit, which is really more credit to the horse itself being a really nice accessory, as I've stated in the horse's own review. Onto the articulation. The helmet blocks the head from moving upwards at all, and he can look downwards a little bit. His head turns side to side, but the helmet again blocks a lot of the movement. Like any other of the World Heroes kit, the shoulder joint slides all the way out like this, where it can then swivel quite a lot. The arm can be adjusted on the ball joint, and it can rotate around until the draping part hits the face. You can move it out of the way, and with a lot of adjustment, you can manage to swing it around a full circle if that's what you really need. The forearms rotate on their ball joint at the shoulder, and Cao Cao has premium elbows with a joint that bends upwards this much. The hands can be adjusted on their ball joint, and they rotate around a full circle. The waist bends forward this much, and they bend backwards this much. It rotates side to side, but if you rotate the upper torso a full circle, chances are it's gonna fall right off. The front skirt sits on a ball joint like this. The side skirts move like this. And the legs are also on a ball joint, and they can be adjusted like this. The legs kick forward only this much thanks to the gigantic front skirt, and they go backwards just as little. They have a fantastic knee bend that you're never actually going to be able to make use of in the very tight space. And the feet can be angled on their ball joint like this. So you may have noticed that Cao Cao is dressed a lot like Nobunaga with the drapes at the front and the big front skirts and everything. And sadly that means that he can move about as much as Nobunaga as well, which is to say not a lot compared to some of the other World Heroes kits. He's a little better than Nobunaga, but they're still worlds away from Wukong and Sasuke at the very top of articulation. So really, he's good enough to make cool poses out of, but he's a little bit frustrating to play with. And I know I kinda spoiled this shot already, but here he is next to Nobunaga, and is quite happy to see how well they work as a pair, because previously Nobunaga looked really out of place and it didn't go so well with all the other characters. Cao Cao looks a little bit slimmer and less bulky than Nobunaga, and the extra tuft of hair on Nobunaga makes him taller than even the highest point of Cao Cao's helmet ornament, but I don't think anyone's gonna mind. I'm sure pairing Wing Gundam against the Epyon is an intentional choice, and I'm sure a lot of fans will want them as a pair for display. For the more traditional size comparison, here's the SDCX RS78, and then here's the Legends BB Zacto. With all the ornaments and the wings and everything, Cao Cao takes up about as much space as Zacto with all his armor, but you can tell he's overall slimmer than both the RX-78 and the Zacto. But he's still gonna look fine on the display next to any of the kits from any of the other lines. With all that said, here's the Hobby Clubhouse 3-point verdict on the SD Gundam World Heroes Cao Cao Wing Gundam Isei Style. Number 1, it has a good balance of stickers and plastic colors. Now before you get all angry, I know this kit is quite far from the illustrations and a ton of smaller details are just ignored on the actual kit. But what I mean is that this design was never realistically going to be represented by the kit, and they didn't brute force it with a hellish amount of stickers. So what we get here is a really good compromise. You're not going to notice the uncolored parts like the shoulder here, which is supposed to be blue right here and red right here. And the fewer stickers do mean that they don't fray and peel when you play with the kit, which really happened a lot when I was reviewing any of the other kits. So yeah, this is a good balance that doesn't make Cao Cao too fussy to handle or to build. I mean, sure, it comes at the cost of some color. And number 2, the new mold might go unnoticed. It's still a little confusing to me how they made this kit almost entirely of new parts, because of course it's wonderful that they did all that work to dress the Wing Gundam up in a proper Musha style theme attire, but at the same time, Bandai's reputation in this area is so bad that most people won't even know about this unless they watch reviews like mine or actually buy the kit. And what's worse is that even though this is nearly entirely new, honestly, it isn't that substantially different overall. I mean, the overall silhouette of the character remains largely the same. So all the work of the designers here may not get fans excited about this kit. Now the story is different if you don't have any of the Cao Cao kits like me, or you really like the character itself. The bottom line is that this isn't a lazy remold, even though it totally looks like it would be. And number 3, he works great with Nobunaga. it really has to be said again just how great he works with Nobunaga. And from the comments from Nobunaga's review, some of you guys really love him, so finally we get a kid that makes him less lonely. I mean, yeah, I know Sasuke is supposed to be his aide, but a bad guy is really nothing without a proper rival counterpart. And the same goes the other way, because by himself, Cao Cao looks kinda out of place with the other World Heroes characters unless he's with Nobunaga. So, long story short, if you get one, you want to get the other. BFFs for life. So that's a review for Cao Cao Wing Gundam Isei Style, who I expected to be cynical and disappointing, but it turns out to be a kit that stands quite well on its own merits. Let me know what you think, and also let me know if you're one of the crazy and brave people who see this and want to make this your next painting project. Thank you so much for watching. Come look us up on social media with updates on upcoming videos and sneak peeks at future projects. Links are in the description below. Or hang out here some more with one of these other videos. But before you go, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to be notified of new videos from Hobby Clubhouse, and I'll see you next time.